I watched them all the time. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa, Caitlin Clark play about the same last year, so I was watching a lot of basketball.
Like, can we get Caitlin Clark a little protection?
Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined.
What happens when a basketball legend like Larry Bird sees the WNBA's brightest rising star targeted by more than just tough defense? You find out fast that it hits different. When Bird watched Marina Mabrey go after Caitlin Clark during that game against the Connecticut Sun, it didn't just upset him, it shook him, and he wasn't alone. Fans and players everywhere felt it. Think about it. Have you ever seen a young talent, someone changing the game, get this kind of treatment night after night? Larry has, because he lived it in the 80s when defenders couldn't stop him, so they hit him instead. But even then, there were limits. What Mabrey did crossed the line, and Bird didn't hold back. He called it the most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades. And when someone like Larry Bird says that, someone who's played through basketball's toughest years, the entire league listens. Asterisk.
Marina Mabrey kind of blindsided Clark there. Oh boy. Sheldon and Cunningham are getting into it. These two teams do not like.
When Larry Bird sat down to watch the clip, Marina Mabrey shoving Caitlin Clark from behind. Just moments after Clark had taken a shot to the eye, he had an immediate and strong reaction. And it wasn't subtle. This wasn't just anyone giving their opinion. This was Larry Bird, one of the toughest players to ever step on a basketball court. He faced the likes of Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer in an era where physical play was the norm. Those guys played rough, but they followed an unspoken code. Push hard, but keep it honorable. What Bird saw in that moment with Mabrey wasn't passion or defense. It was a blatant cheap shot, and it violated everything he believes the game should stand for. To Bird, the timing of the hit mattered just as much as the act itself. Clark wasn't just hit, she was hit when she was vulnerable, distracted, and already recovering from a hard shot to the face. She wasn't facing Mabrey. She wasn't braced for contact. It was a deliberate decision made at the worst possible moment, and that's what set Bird off. Because in his day, if you had an issue with someone, you settled it face to face. You didn't wait until their back was turned. That wasn't how real players handled conflict. That wasn't toughness. That was weakness disguised as aggression. What made things worse in Bird's eyes was what happened next, or rather, what didn't happen. Mabrey didn't show any remorse. She didn't offer an apology or even acknowledge the moment. Instead, she waved off the criticism with a dismissive comment, saying, "Damn if I do. Damned if I don't." For Bird, that was the final straw. Because accountability is part of being a true competitor. When you go too far and risk someone's health in the process, you take ownership of that. You don't dodge the consequences and pretend like nothing happened. To Bird, that's what separates the greats from the rest. And make no mistake, Caitlin Clark, in Bird's mind, is one of the greats. Even at just 22, she's carrying the weight of the league. Her game is sharp, smart, and electric. She sees plays before they happen. She handles pressure like a seasoned pro. And despite being targeted again and again, she keeps showing up, keeps leading, and keeps playing with heart. Bird knows what it's like to be that player, the one everyone wants to knock off the top. He lived it, but what Clark is facing, he said, goes beyond anything he endured. This isn't just rough defense. This is a campaign of physical punishment, and it's taking a toll. Bird's words hit hard because they came from a place of deep respect for the sport. He's not just backing Clark, he's defending what basketball is supposed to be. A game of skill, courage, and character. And when someone like Mabrey resorts to sneaky hits and dirty plays, it threatens that foundation. Bird didn't sugarcoat it. He said outright that Mabrey, in his eyes, isn't competing on talent. She's leaning on tactics because she can't keep up with players like Clark. That's not just a slight, that's a statement. One that challenges not only Mabrey's choices, but her place in the league. And yet, Bird didn't stop there. His concern reached beyond one game, one player, or one shove. He's worried about what it says to the next generation, the young fans watching at home, dreaming of one day stepping on the court. What message are they getting? That it's okay to take cheap shots when you're frustrated? That if you can't beat someone with skill, you take them down by any means necessary? To Bird, that's not just disappointing, it's dangerous. It undermines the spirit of competition and sets the wrong example for those coming up behind. That's why Bird's remarks sparked such a big reaction, because he wasn't just venting. He was sending a wake-up call to the WNBA, a warning that if the league doesn't act now, if it doesn't step in to protect its most valuable players, it risks far more than a few dirty plays. It risks losing the very athletes who are bringing the game to new heights. Players like Caitlin Clark don't come around often. When they do, the league has a responsibility to protect them, not just for their sake, but for the future of the sport itself. Bird made it clear, this isn't just about a hard foul. It's about a culture shift, one that threatens to reward aggression over ability and punishment over performance. And if that becomes the norm, the league could lose everything it's worked so hard to build. That's the bigger issue here, not just what Mabrey did, but what the WNBA allows. If they let this go unchecked, it sends a loud and clear message that star players are fair game, that it's open season on the best talent in the league, and that, to Bird, is unacceptable. In Caitlin Clark, Bird sees more than just a standout athlete. He sees someone reshaping the game. She's smart. She's fearless. She elevates everyone around her. And instead of lifting her up, opponents are trying to knock her down, literally. But here's what makes it even more powerful. It's not working. Every hit, every foul, every dirty play thrown her way is only making her tougher, sharper, more focused. She's not backing down. She's rising above it. And in doing so, she's proving exactly why she's the future of women's basketball. Bird wrapped up his thoughts with a message for the league, and it wasn't subtle. If Marina Mabrey keeps playing this way, and the WNBA continues to look the other way, she won't last. Not in a league that's trying to grow, trying to inspire, trying to reach new audiences, because fans don't show up to watch cheap shots. They show up to watch greatness. And greatness deserves to be protected. In the end, Bird's message was simple but powerful. The WNBA is at a crossroads. It can choose to support its stars, players like Caitlin Clark, who are changing the game in real time, or it can allow fringe players to try and drag the league down through recklessness, but it can't do both. The future depends on which direction it takes.
Indiana has done it. Their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship, knocking off the Minnesota Lynx. This is Howard setting up McDonald, knocking down the tray. Finds it cutting McDonald.
Nobody saw this coming. The Indiana Fever, without their biggest star Caitlin Clark, without leadership from veteran Dana Bonner, and up against the league's most dominant team, the Minnesota Lynx, in the Commissioner's Cup final, everything pointed to a blowout, with MVP frontrunner Napheesa Collier leading the charge. Most expected a lopsided win, not a real contest. But the Fever didn't just show up, they stunned everyone. Kelsey Mitchell played like she had something to prove. Aliyah Boston controlled the paint. Natasha Howard brought energy, toughness, and heart. What they delivered wasn't just a strong performance, it was a statement, a team that refused to back down, even without their star. And when the buzzer sounded, when the unthinkable became reality, cameras cut to Clark, still on the bench, still sidelined by a lingering groin injury, smiling. Later, she said just 6 words, "This is bigger than just me." That said it all. Picture it, a team walking into the biggest game of their season, missing the face of their franchise, the player who had been filling arenas and leading their rise, and yet they didn't fold. They believed, they fought, and they won. Not just for a trophy, but for each other.
And her status, just how did she look? How did she feel today during shoot around? And is she making progress and getting closer playing?
She's making progress. You know, I think, again, top of mind, I think I told you this afternoon, is just long term. You know, making sure that we don't have any setbacks. You know, making progress and feeling good are two different things, and we want to make sure that she feels good. We want to make sure that she's confident. We want to make sure that we're not putting her in a position to have any setbacks, and that's the.
But the Fever's challenges didn't stop there. Dear Stantis was far away, fighting in the FIBA America Cup, leaving a big gap in a roster already stretched thin. Without her experience and toughness inside, the team lost a key piece in games where every play mattered. Then came the bigger shock. Dana Bonner, the veteran brought in during the offseason to bring leadership and steady the team, left after just 9 games. That move stunned the Fever, forcing them to scramble and eventually waive her. It felt like a blow to the gut, a betrayal when the season was hanging by a thread and the team needed her steady presence more than ever.
Bonner was brought in for leadership. She was brought in for leadership. And you want to know all that these young players learned from her? if things don't go your way, refuse to show up, continue to get paid a max contract while you are sitting out, refusing to play.
She got benched. She couldn't handle it. I want out. She's not playing well.
Now, let's talk about the huge challenge the Fever faced, the Minnesota Lynx. This wasn't just a strong team, they were a powerhouse. Cruising through the season with a 14-1 record heading into the final. The reigning Commissioner's Cup champions, playing at home with a packed, roaring crowd behind them. Leading the way was MVP frontrunner physicality, a player everyone knew could change the game. The energy in the arena was electric, and almost everyone thought the result was already set. Vegas had the Lynx favored by 14 points, and experts called it a mismatch, a certain blowout, without their stars. The Fever weren't just underdogs, they were seen as outmatched before the game even started.
In the way that they're playing, I don't know if different is the word as much as they look even more connected. They're a team that was connected a year ago, but really the nuance of having each other's back on the defensive end, of knowing where your teammate's going to be, discipline to coverages, the connectivity that they have on the offensive end of the floor. I mean, the way that they move with and without the ball, the way that the ball moves makes it really tough to cover. I often say that offense is like a dance, and they are flowing, man. They are making music, and there's no doubt about it. So we have to try to be disruptive.
This was supposed to be the Fever's big moment, their first ever Commissioner's Cup final. But everything that could go wrong did. Their stars were out, their bench was stretched thin, and the pressure felt like it was closing in with every passing second. The players on the court knew all eyes were on them, and critics were waiting for them to fall apart. It was like David facing Goliath, except this David's slingshot was broken. The team was shaky and half their strength was missing. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever barely resembled the team fans had come to love. In the 5 games before the final, they lost 3, giving up big leads that should have been wins. Their offense, once smooth and powerful, fell apart. The ball stopped moving. Players stopped trusting each other, and bad shots and isolation plays took over. You could see it all unraveling. A team losing its rhythm and identity with every minute. This wasn't the exciting, well-oiled team that had filled arenas and made headlines all season.
It's your first season with this batch of players, and so I'm just wondering if the Commissioner's Cup is just a stepping stone for greater things to come.
Well, I hope so. But at the same time, we want to take care of business now, right? We want to win a cup. So we're not looking at it necessarily as a stepping stone. We're looking at it as an opportunity to win. And then we're looking at it, as coaches, as an opportunity to continue to stack days. We haven't had a lot of consistency in our lineup, and so we haven't really built that camaraderie and connectedness that we need in order for us to be successful. But we can take another step towards growth, another step towards consistency. On the floor, in execution, in energy level. We're playing the best team in the league right now, and we've got to come.
Let's talk about Aliyah Boston, a force when she's set up right. But in the games before the final, she was left to fend for herself. She'd find her spot in the paint, ready to take over, only to see her teammates fire off contested 3-pointers instead of passing her the ball. Boston shines when the offense goes through her. But without those crucial passes, her power was held back. You could see the frustration on her face. The team's whole identity started to crumble. Without their floor general, Caitlin Clark wasn't just a top scorer or assist leader. She was the one who kept the team moving, the voice that set the pace. Without her, the Fever looked confused, out of sync, unsure of their own game. Opponents noticed. 2 defenses focused on Kelsey Mitchell and Aliyah Boston. No longer worried about Clark breaking down their plans, and it showed, time and again. Play after play.
See as to how exactly you're going to do that, or what you guys need to do to approach the game successfully.
Yeah, I think we've got to be disruptive. We've got to make sure that we play with a level of physicality that doesn't allow them to just pass the ball around where everywhere that they want to pass it. So we've got to make sure that we're disruptive. We got to make sure that we're elite at our on-ball screen defense. This is a team that reads really well, that moves really well. We got to be elite at the point of attack on on-ball screen defense. We always talk about guarding our yard, being able to guard one-on-one, so we're not in rotation early. I think for us, it's going to have to start on the defensive end of the floor, so that allows us to get out and run in transition as well. But We can't allow them to just do exactly.
The Commissioner's Cup game was the biggest test for the Fever. Could they find a way to win without their superstar? Could they rediscover the spark? The smooth passing and teamwork that once made them nearly unstoppable. Facing such a huge challenge was tough, but what happened next didn't just surprise everyone. It became something truly unforgettable.
Now, I thought that hate was too strong of a word at the time. Angel Reese is damn sure jealous of Caitlin Clark. She's got a lot of anger. She has a lot of resentment towards the Great White Hope. But I thought the bitterness was professional. I thought Angel Reese was jealous because Caitlin Clark is a main